Good morning. It's a wonderful January morning. I hope you have your tea or your coffee. I'm Mary Winters, a gerontologist, the owner of About Senior Solutions, and you are watching Visionary Aging. Today, we're going to talk a little bit about rheumatoid arthritis and some of the things to avoid food-wise, or maybe even to be eating more routinely. So we'll have our Melinda Hughes on talking about that, and we'll celebrate a fabulous birthday for someone who is turning 100. But we also have a local person. Her name is Virginia Mosley, and she will be turning 100. We're asking if you'll send birthday cards to her, to our office, and we'll get those over to her with a big bouquet of flowers and some balloons. So I'm going to go ahead and we'll post her contact, or the contact that we'll use to get that out below here. In the meantime, I want to share a little bit about Mr. Morrow. John F. Morrow is a minister out in Arkansas and a lovely man who just turned 100. Let's see here. Put him there in solo. He doesn't look 100, unless this picture's old. But yes, Mr. Morrow is turning 100. He was a tank driver in the 7th Infantry during the Battle of the Bulge. And he said, boy, if you don't think there was a lot of praying going on then, I wanted to serve my country, but I was scared. And there was a ton of praying going on, making sure that everybody was safe. And obviously you survived that. Thank God. And you are here celebrating with your 9 great-grandchildren and your family. So congratulations. And so let's go ahead and we'll add in our Melinda Hughes. Let's see if we've got her little segment here, her little intro. Good morning.
Hello, good morning. I got my little baby here, just giving kisses and
great.
cuddles.
That's fantastic.
The morning kisses and cuddles, so it's a good morning.
That's perfect. Oh yeah, it's always a good morning when you get kisses and cuddles, that's for sure. So we're going to talk about rheumatoid arthritis and some of the things that are really not good that we could really avoid. I have a family member who more recently was diagnosed as a very young person. I have a friend of mine whose daughter was diagnosed very severe rheumatoid arthritis, childhood juvenile arthritis. And they have made some really big changes in their diets. And it's made a huge difference. And they can feel it when they kind of break away from that.
Yep.
So share with me what some of the latest research is that's coming out.
Oh, wonderful. I'm on my slower internet, so I hope that
okay. We're hearing you fine. Yeah.
You know, obviously I'm not a doctor by any means, but nutritionally I have worked with several people who have rheumatoid arthritis, and we have I would say a handful of people we work with in the strength shop, especially over the years, that have had rheumatoid arthritis or have currently rheumatoid arthritis, because it doesn't go away. It's just a matter of, are they at the strength shop or not? But food is a huge trigger in those cases. And obviously that's the thing that I focus on. If you think about, maybe we should back up a little bit and talk about what rheumatoid arthritis is. But it's an autoimmune disorder where your body's immune system attacks its own tissues. And typically the attack on the tissues is around the joints, and it causes pain. That immune system attack causes painful swelling, aching, fatigue, joint pain. The joints can swell, and in serious cases, they can become deformed. Joints can prevent the joint from working. And so when you have a diagnosis with rheumatoid arthritis, certainly, if there was a very clear causation, I think that
yes,
we would be preventing people, this would be preventable. But It's fuzzy, but there are genetic factors, there are lifestyle factors that contribute to, they've seen linked to developing rheumatoid arthritis. It's a higher risk for women. It's a higher risk for women who have not had children. It's
Interesting.
a higher risk for people who are obese or who smoke. And from a nutritional standpoint, I can see how obesity and smoking can contribute to rheumatoid arthritis because it is, it is inflammation. Inflammation makes
Absolutely.
rheumatoid
Absolutely. It doesn't
arthritis
help.
worse.
It doesn't
Yeah.
help. And so
So,
obviously sugar is a big one too.
yeah.
But I also understand that while we have testing that can it relates to the fact that if we have these types of outcomes, it more than likely is rheumatoid arthritis. We don't have a definitive test that shows you absolutely have rheumatoid arthritis.
Right.
So I think sometimes the challenge is it really rheumatoid arthritis? And it's very possible that it is. One person that I was speaking to, they were exposed to somebody who travels outside of the country quite a bit. And did that person bring something back that created this inflammation? So
Mm-hmm.
it's not 100% known. And at the same time, one of these women that I was speaking of earlier, she had a physician come into the office. She was in her 20s, and the physician very flippantly said, "Well, you've got rheumatoid arthritis, and you're going to take this and get your eyes checked every year because you're susceptible to losing your vision." And then she walked out, and she said, I am in my 20s. I'm in my
Yeah.
20s. How can you have a bedside manner like that? So she turned around and found another physician. That's something I encourage other people to do. If you're not happy, not just with the diagnosis, but the treatment that you receive from your doctor, absolutely go out and reach out. Reach out to the organizations like the American Arthritis Association to get more details and more support and support groups. Those are other ways to also support any kind of diagnosis that you have with some of the wonderful support groups that are out in our communities too.
The thing that with something like rheumatoid arthritis and some of these other autoimmune disorders, sometimes without definitive testing, we're putting labels on groups of symptoms. And I think that in some cases, that's really important for people to understand, because you can definitely take a diagnosis and kind of use that as a finality of some sort. But the causation between one person's rheumatoid arthritis or the factors that make that person's rheumatoid arthritis worse could be very, very different from the next person. So sometimes receiving a diagnosis like that is almost a disservice because it doesn't help us. There's not a clear answer to what causes and what causes it to be worse in people. So the diagnosis almost doesn't help.
Sure. And it's even like with some of the different forms of dementia, I think many physicians label that as Alzheimer's. And so they may give you some standard medications for Alzheimer's. And in fact, you have something different, such as Lewy body, and those same medications will work.
Make it worse.
Not just poorly, it will make it worse. So
Yeah.
I think that is really important to make sure that we have all the right information and direction, and that if you have changes and things aren't working with you with the medication, with a diagnosis, that it's certainly something you need to talk with your physician about or change physicians. I also have on the bottom of our scroll here, not to completely distract, but it has to be super distracting for everybody watching, but we have Virginia Mosley, who's turning 100. And we want to celebrate her by sending a birthday card to her. So the scroll that you see below is to our office so that we can bring a nice big pile of birthday cards over to her. We have some declarations from different cities that they're sending off, and we should have a fire truck and a nice little parade driving past her house that day. So please go ahead and send those off to us, and we will make sure that she gets them. So going back to diagnosis and so forth, and sometimes an inaccurate diagnosis. We need to get to the root of this.
I think the other important thing to understand, if you do receive a diagnosis like this, and like your family member, the physicians that I work with at the strength shop who come in for training, every week they come in, especially now, especially in the last 2 weeks, and talk about the sheer volume of people they see. So really our medical system is set up to be kind of this revolving door where, physicians are people, and they're people with a certain amount of capacity, and that capacity is always being pushed to the limit in their day to day. So knowing that, it takes a human being a minute to sit with someone and really be able to listen and understand what's happening with that person's situation. And if you don't have the time to do that, all you have the time to do is say, it sounds like this, and this is what I think can help the person. But there might be factors that can be uncovered. For instance, when I work with someone and their nutrition, we might uncover things 6 to 8 sessions down the line, and each session is 45 minutes or an hour, depending on how I'm working with someone. It's there's a lot of discussion there. There's a lot of digging. So I think that taking a diagnosis like this with a grain of salt, and then kind of exploring it for yourself. And one of the things that we need to look at when we think of rheumatoid arthritis is, okay, if this is an immune system response, why does our immune system start working? Well, our immune system works when it detects an antigen, and an antigen is any foreign substance. It can be a toxin, it can be a virus, right? So anything that's not supposed to be.
Right. So like even when we have a cold, that issue, that virus is attacking us to have a runny nose, or to have a sore throat, or to have a sore joint. So.
And that's why our bodies are achy, right? Is the immune system is issuing attack when we're sick, and it causes the flood causes aching joints and aching muscles. But go ahead.
I was just going to say, let's talk a little bit about the food that we want to either avoid or gravitate to that may help some of that situation.
So there's in nutrition, there is a syndrome or disorder or condition called leaky gut. That's kind of like the slang name, I guess. It's just intestinal permeability, and essentially what happens is the gut has a barrier and the barrier in your gut means that when you eat food and you're digesting that food, your stomach acid, your gut is breaking that food down. And your gut's supposed to break the food down so that the vitamins and minerals and things that your body needs become small enough that they can pass through your gut and enter the rest of your body, whereas the things that are being discarded will continue down and be eliminated from the body. Well, sometimes, usually from poor dietary choices, the gut isn't breaking things down the way it should be. And the intestine becomes hyperpermeable, meaning it's letting things pass into your bloodstream, into the rest of your body that are not supposed to be there.
Exactly.
When those things that are not supposed to be there pass to the other side, your immune system recognizes them as invaders who are not supposed to be there and issues an attack against them. And those molecules can be things that we eat.
Like like fiery hot Cheetos or whatever. I mean,
Yeah.
I just know. And that's the other thing too. We're seeing so many more kids or younger people with this diagnosis. And you think about all the junk that they've been eating. We've been eating all this junk since the 70s when it came
Yeah.
out, all these weird things. I mean, the things even before that, but mom's wholesome meals are sometimes fast food now. And, you know, I think as a society, we try the best we can
Yep.
to eat right. But sometimes I was talking to somebody, she grew up in Hawaii, and her mom thought that being American was, she was from another country, but she thought it was giving her daughter fast food every day. And they left for school with a Twinkie every morning. And she
Yeah.
didn't realize that half of what her issues were because her mom had no idea what nutrition was. And she was, you know, just, she was a child.
Yep.
So she had to change everything up for herself, and has she's fantastic. She has wonderful health. But it is interesting. And even things like dairy. And I know you will research different things too. And you were sharing something with me regarding eggs. And but I know reducing some of those things may also help. The same person is over 21. So when she was drinking a beer or wine, it was starting to really affect her joints. She started drinking a hard kombucha. She said, the only thing I can drink now that doesn't bother me. So also found that very interesting. What are the other things that you have found nutritionally that help support getting away from that inflammation?
The interesting thing about this gut permeability, where things that aren't supposed to be in the rest of your body can pass through the gut, is that different substances can do that for different people. So, and typically, the things that you eat with a high regularity are going to have more of a likelihood to pass through in your individual body. So the difficulty in this is that certainly there are foods that most people eat a lot with a lot of regularity, and those become our more common allergens that are able to pass through because we're eating them with more regularity. So there are common allergens like eggs, milk, wheat, gluten, you know, that people see more typically as things that cause a lot of inflammation in the body, because when they pass through, the immune system says, we have a situation here, and that you know, the immune system issues the attack. But the tricky thing is, some of these substances can be wild cards for people. And that's why I like food inflammation testing. So there's a company called KBO Diagnostics, KBMO. Hopefully I'm getting the letters right. And we use their food sensitivity testing. And what I like about their food sensitivity testing is that it's the most sensitive test on the market. It tests for the immune factors that most of these tests test for, but it also looks at gut permeability and inflammation. And some of those tests turn back results that are interesting to people. I have a client who just took a test this week. We got his results back yesterday. And one of the highly reactive, it might have been the most highly reactive, was cinnamon.
Did he have a lot of cinnamon over the holidays, or?
I mean, it would not, even if he was eating cinnamon like his job seasonally, it would not cause a reaction in the body like this. So it's just something that's very specific to him. It's not something that he's eating with regularity. And then certainly we saw eggs on that as well. So when I get these tests back for people, there's usually some common things there, like eggs, wheat, milk. Cow's milk is a big one. But sometimes there's a wild card. On mine, it was spinach and pumpkin. And so knowing those and kind of having that cheat sheet of what's causing inflammation in your body can be a real godsend to everybody, but also people who have rheumatoid arthritis, because the connection between rheumatoid arthritis and food sensitivities or food allergies in my mind is if your immune system is attacking your body with an autoimmune disorder, in this case with rheumatoid arthritis, it's attacking your the tissues lining the joints. You don't want your immune system to be activated at all costs.
Right.
You want to kind of keep the inflammation, level of inflammation in your body down, so that your immune system doesn't kick in. Because the beautiful thing about the immune system and about the body in general, and this we can tie this back into the indirect effect of exercise, which I could talk about in a minute, is that when things are released in the body, an immune response, these things are circulating through the bloodstream. And so if there's a foreign invader somewhere else, the immune system is going to be like, well, I got this one. It's not going to just, so for instance, if there's multiple virus circulating through your bloodstream, your immune response isn't just going to go to one virus. It's going to get everything. It's going to look for every foreign invader. So when we trigger the immune response with food sensitivities or food allergies, it makes the rheumatoid arthritis worse, because because the immune system is activated and it's going to attack whatever it perceives as a danger. So in order to keep that rheumatoid arthritis under control, we really have to focus on what is triggering the immune system and how do we keep the immune system, it really is, the answer is living as healthy as possible for people who have autoimmune disorders. And
you pay for that once you really do pay for it. It's like, oh, I want to have such and such, knowing that you may pay for that the next day. So let's talk more about the exercise.
Yes. So exercise can contribute to flare-ups if it's causing too much inflammation. And one of my favorite things to explain to people is that anything in life causes inflammation in the body. Anything we eat causes a certain amount of inflammation. So when you get the KBMO test back, for example, you'll see these tiny little dark green reactions.
Like, what am I not allergic to?
Yeah, but that's the reaction. That's the measurement of inflammation that a pomegranate had in your body. And it's really small, but there's still inflammation. Everything that we eat causes inflammation. Everything we do causes inflammation. Lack of sleep, stress in our lives causes inflammation. And certainly exercise causes inflammation. Oh, my dog is scratching herself and crying at the same time. Come here, baby. Is your ear hurting you? We'll check that out later. Yeah, I'll check that out for you. She gets ear infections, food allergies.
Oh, doggy food allergies.
Yeah, my dog is allergic to chicken.
Oh yeah, I remember somebody else talking about that with their dog. They thought they were doing the best thing by giving them, meat, right, that they made and poached or whatever, and something. So, and it was bad for them. So, anyway, so let's talk a little bit more. I know exercise can cause inflammation. We talked a little bit last week too about how some of the boot camps can create an extreme amount of inflammation. So it goes away, but depending on what kind of body you're living in, what is better in regards to exercise?
So rheumatoid arthritis, exercise in general is causing inflammation no matter what you're doing. The more intensely you work, the more the larger the response your body has. But we want something that's very low impact. So I would never advise someone who has rheumatoid arthritis to do something super intense like CrossFit. Because for some forms of exercise like powerlifting can be very it can cause a lot of inflammation.
Jarring. Yeah, really jarring on the joints too.
Yeah, so I wouldn't suggest somebody with rheumatoid arthritis go for, take up running. It's just
so do you think things like so low impact, I'm thinking maybe things like swimming, cycling, things that are not what's the word I'm looking for?
Low impact is good.
Yeah.
It's not going to create, because anytime, if you think about it, anytime there's inflammation, or anytime there's force, it's going to cause a bit more inflammation. You can, it's a good example. My husband shattered his heel in 2019. His ankle on that foot is just a little bit weaker than the rest of his body. So we went for an 8-mile hike in Hawaii on our last vacation. And at the end of the hike, thank God it was the last day, his ankle swells up like a little balloon and he loses his ankle bone. And it's because that repetitive movement and the duration and from that activity has caused so much inflammation.
Probably the climate too.
Yeah. So we need to temper that with rheumatoid arthritis when we choose our exercise. So certainly I wouldn't recommend cycling. I think that causes a little bit too much inflammation in the joints, but swimming, yoga, tai chi, anything that is working the muscles slowly through, we've definitely had success working with people. We have current clients who have rheumatoid arthritis doing the slow lifting because there's no force on the joints. You're contracting the muscles slowly. It does cause inflammation, and we may have to work more slowly. We've had clients with rheumatoid arthritis where we've had to work more slowly. Our current clients are at the same level of intensity that I'm trying to think of everybody, but because we have a few, but they're at the same level of intensity as the rest of our clients. They do not have to do anything differently because the slow strength training is gentle enough in their cases. I have had some cases, a long time ago, I worked with a man who had the joint deformity already. There's only so much.
Yeah, you can't go backwards.
Yeah, you do.
So just because we're right at the half hour, I think just some of the things then that you said, possibly getting testing. We talked about really getting a really thorough consult with your doctor and making sure that whatever testing you're getting is really in depth and you're being treated for the correct illness.
Yeah.
And how food has a huge support mechanism and can also really be your downfall with that. And I love the fact that you have the low impact and slow exercise and how that can be such a fantastic thing for people. So thank you so much, Melinda, of the strength.
Yeah.
I appreciate it.
Ooh, there's one more thing that you may want to tell your family member, like the classes where the movements are quick, like aerobic classes, like a cardio bar, and you're holding weights.
Yes.
Those type of exercises can be really inflammatory to the joints. So those, personally, I think those should be avoided with everyone, but definitely in cases with rheumatoid arthritis, we want to be very, very gentle on the joints, nice, slow movements. Yoga and Tai Chi are super gentle, slow strength training.
Great.
Yeah. So hopefully
Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. All right. We'll go ahead and take off here. Oops.